So as I mentioned, we need to get away from molybdenum sulfide or sulfide catalyst. However, the choices that most people know are noble metals. They are extremely expensive and not easy available because of the quantities. So if you try to do noble metals like palladium, rhodium, iridium, platinum, even gold for pharmaceuticals or fine chemistry, yes, that will work because those are the products are so expensive that then the catalyst is not expensive anymore. But for commodity products like the one we are dealing with, using those catalysts in large quantities is prohibited. I'm not mentioning is that the reactions that are being carried out in there produce a lot of water. You can have it depending on the condition. You can have liquid water and steam that usually those catalysts get poison for those environments. They deactivate, even though you can try to keep it. So you can imagine that they begin to oxidize even more, even further, and then you have to add more sulfur to the feedstock to compensate and to try to keep them alive. So that's the reason why here we went away from that and we begin to work on a different active phase that is the carbides. And they have the advantage that they behave similar to noble metal, but as you can imagine, at much, much lower prices. However, carbides, molybdenum carbide, tungsten carbide, has been known for more than 60 years. And there are several phases of crystallographic phases from those. However, even though for more than 60 years they have been known to do similar reactions to, you don't find a commercial catalyst for that because the chemistry to produce them, a stable configuration. There are many reactions that occur when the typical conditions of temperature ramping program to do the formation of the molybdenum carbide, for instance, the hexagonal phase. They tend to need to go to 700, 750 degrees C, usually in an environment of methane or ethane or some carbonaceous material that allows to do the formation of the carbide. Those conditions are tough. And because the reactions that produce one type of carbide or mixture of them or partially oxidized carbides are not very reproducible, there are several ways to produce that. However, those particular ways of producing that in a small scale are feasible only at lab scale. When you want to go to a pilot or a commercial scale, you need to produce large quantities of them, 100 kilograms, a ton or more. So you need to be focused on procedures that allows to do that. So most papers you find tend to be around academic environments where the focus is to understand what active phase can do or how to modify or do some things. But the main focus is not a scale up. It's not to produce even a supported catalyst because usually you work with the active phase where we produce the active phase and we show that that active phase is able to do the reverse Waller achieved with 100% selectivity to CO, which is a very impressive result and granted us the opportunity to publish in the prestigious magazine Science. But when you go or when you want to go to pilot units that you require 100, 150 grams, or bigger units where you require 500 grams or 1 kilograms, the pure active phase, you have to distribute it on some support. And then it's when our knowledge or know-how enter into action because we know that active phase. So we were able to put it on top of different supports and then we make something that is very equivalent to a commercial catalyst. We can support it in several different structures and shapes that allows to use different reactor configuration and different conditions. So we were able to do that in our pilot unit, and we were able to demonstrate in the particular case of bio-oils that is feasible. And we ran several bio-oils, and we were successful doing the hydrodeoxygenation of those feedstocks, producing something that in one of the examples we have 50% oxygen content, which have like 25% water as well, and we were able to convert that and leaving the hydrocarbon product with around 2% oxygen remaining. However, even though that 2% seems to be a little high for conventional fossil fuels, that particular feedstock is miscible with conventional fossil fuels, which is a very important advantage because right now many of those bio oils tend to be used in doping or adding co-processing in FCC, for instance. But if you understand FCC, you know that adding those horrible compounds that are oxygenated are going to affect the catalyst later. So you or they found a way to get release of 1 to 3% of that co-processing in FCC, but they are affecting the catalyst of FCC. The other way is what we do, which is hydrodeoxygenation. But as I mentioned, conventional fossil fuels don't have that amount of oxygen. So the catalysts that are designed for treating them usually are not very good for that. So we were able to overcome that. We have a very robust catalyst that is commercially like or preparing with conventional unit operation of catalysts. We include preparation, mixing of solutions, impregnation, drying, and in this particular case, temperature treatments to allow to produce the catalyst. And that material can be handled with any conventional catalyst